Yes, yes, yes. Everybody, please calm down. It's a very exciting weekend for a lot of people. I understand that. There's a big reason for it. This video here is a perfect example of that. But this movie is not the only big thing happening this weekend. Just want to note that this weekend also brings us Mother's Day as well, which I think is a very important thing to acknowledge. Now, I'm not entirely familiar with all of your mothers, but I am extremely familiar with mine. So I wanted to take this opportunity and really thank my mother for everything that she's done for me. There is no end to how impressed I am with your generosity, kindness, strength, and heart. Everything I know in this world about being a decent person is in huge part thanks to you. I really hope you enjoyed this and just sit comfortably knowing that this entire intro is dedicated to you. And I love you forever. Oh, do you guys want me to talk about Captain America Civil War? First off, this is the Great Big Picture Show. I'm Spencer Howard Belden. You're beautiful to see, and I'm very, very happy and appreciative to be seen. And this weekend really does officially kind of kick off the summer blockbuster movie season. And what better way to do that than with Marvel's big, big, big movie, Captain America Civil War. Now, I do feel at this point the Marvel Cinematic Universe doesn't really need a full introduction. I think that's safe to say, considering there are about 12 movies in leading up to this movie, with 839,000 more to go. They've had some hits, they've had some misses, lots of highs and lows, and I can safely say that Captain America Civil War sits amongst one of the very highs. If you're unfamiliar with the year-and-a-half-long publicity surrounding this movie and the endless billboards and posters and product placement surrounding every single person's eyeballs, let me catch you up with what this movie is about. Essentially, what we have here is the superheroes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe are being put to task for all of the destructive outcomes of all of their interactions and world saving. So much so to the point that the government is intervening and asking that any superhuman powered person give themselves over to the government for government use and can be used at the government's free will among a sort of United Nations system. The nice thing about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with the increasing amount of characters that we're dealing with here, is that we have a lot of different perspectives, and this plot device really splits the divide and makes some enemies out of friends. It's a nice fresh direction to take these characters into, and I think in large part that is helped by Anthony and Joe Russo, who are newcomer directors to the Marvel Universe. Essentially taking the reins from Joss Whedon, the Russo brothers have basically crafted another Avengers movie with the Captain American logo slapped on top of it. And I mean that action-wise and story-wise, considering the story here actually involves all of these characters very directly, but one of the nicest things about this movie is that it creates a good amount of emotional depth and heft that this entire series of movies has kind of been lacking. Considering the Russo brothers are going to be at the helm for the Avengers Infinity Wars Part 1 and 2, tentatively titled, they're going to switch it up, they just said that. With this being the first taste of what the Russo brothers are capable of working in this sandbox and this universe, it's a great example of what they're capable of and the kind of stories that we're looking into the future for. They've crafted a big, impressive, albeit very familiar action movie that actually affects you as you watch these characters feel the things that they do, and excite you at how close to home it gets. Now, considering the Russo brothers are much more familiar with TV fare such as Community and Arrested Development, it's really awesome and exciting to see them take advantage of this universe and craft some really great action set pieces. And they are extremely entertaining from top to bottom. But like I said before, it all does have a sense of being very familiar. If you've seen these movies, you've seen these fight scenes before, but the Russos have found a bunch of very clever and fun ways to keep surprising you with what these characters are capable of. Chief among these action set pieces is the main fight between all of our Avengers, new and old, and it is exceptional. It really is great seeing all of these characters fighting personal battles along with obviously physical ones, get bigger and bigger and deal with each other in this way, and seeing that this universe isn't as soft as it has played this entire time. And that was one of my issues early on, that it felt very familiar, very trite, and very safe. These movies are big, movies are a business, and I understand that they want to make them very accessible to everybody. But at a certain point, you really want to see these characters go there, whatever that means, and I think that this movie achieves that finally. It takes a while, but by the end of the movie, I think you'll agree that this is a very full, rounded cast of characters that don't skimp when it comes to what they're doing or why they're doing it. As I make that point, I'd like to take this opportunity to give compliments to the screenwriters, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, which I kind of think would make a great acoustic duo if they ever feel like doing that and not make big action blockbusters. Anyways, I think that we get a lot of these movies and we're used to these movies and they're so big and so bombastic and impressive that I think that it's easy to forget that this is a lot to fit into one movie, and it takes a lot of skill to include all of these characters, introduce completely new characters, and keep it all very cohesive, entertaining, and on top of that, with this movie in particular, thought-provoking. So they get major kudos for doing that. That's a very monumental job to take on, and it's impressive to see the outcome be as affecting as this one was. The setup of the movie is as I described it before, but like I mentioned, they took a lot of care and a lot of time to really focus in on the emotions of these characters and the decisions that they make, and they all have repercussions, and I really appreciated the movie for that. Quickly jumping back to the Russos though, I did want to make note. This might be, I was kind of having a conflict with myself about this, and it might be just nitpicking, but with a movie like this that is so specifically about fighting one another and fighting each other and the abilities that all of these people have, I am increasingly having more of an issue with the capability of these characters and how they're utilized. Basically what I mean, for example, in one moment, Captain America can literally run as fast as speeding cars. And in another moment, nah. In one moment, the Winter Soldier can't even fight the Black Panther or keep him away. When in another scene, he literally takes down Iron Man, Black Widow, and Black Panther. It is frustrating watching these movies over and over and over again and seeing these characters capable of one thing at one point and another thing later on when it seems to just fit the story. Just in general, like I said, this is probably just nitpicking, but because this movie is so specific on the arc of them fighting one another, it was just a much bigger magnifying glass that showed a lot of cracks in the system. Speaking so much about these characters, let's actually talk about the people who play them, huh? And how they did in this old blockbuster. Considering the roster of major actors and actresses in this movie, if I talked about every single one, this would be a 4-part video longer than the Godfather series. So honestly, I want to make note of some really, really great highlights and some things that I think that were not so great. Chris Evans is still very solid as Captain America, dealing with this whole emotional heft of his best friend and Iron Man, who's his brother in arms. One person who I want to make special note of is Sebastian Stan, who plays the Winter Soldier, Bucky. I think that he's really great, and I don't think that he gets the credit for playing that character as well as he does, and just the acting performance that he gives. It's kind of hard to go back and forth between the two extremes that the character has, and I think he carries it very gracefully. I'm still so happy that we live in a world where if we have all of these superhero movies, Paul Rudd is one of them. He's very funny and great. And I'm sure, as you know, we have a great deal of newcomers here, including Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther and Tom Holland as the new Spider-Man. The way in which these two characters are introduced are very useful and suitable for the movie, as it's already pretty packed, but they make it very clever and fun. And the two of them are great. They really are very good and make me very excited to see what they will do with their own movies. Now, just real quickly, I just want to get this out. I am completely sick of the Robert Downey Jr. thing. He has spent a great deal of time bashing the independent film industry and working in lower conditions and working under difficult conditions. How he doesn't want to go back to that life when he has the high life that he has right now, which is all great and fancy, but it is a little arrogant and shitty, honestly, when you're making a huge paycheck for playing yourself. There's a moment in which Scarlett Johansson's character Black Widow tells him, "Can you put your ego down for one goddamn second?" And I can't help but think this was just an outtake while the cameras were rolling and he was just doing his thing, and Scarlett Johansson had had enough and just said, "You know what, dude? Stop." I will fully admit he's good when he has actual emotions to analyze, but it's so overwhelming to watch him just do the "I'm too cool for this, man" thing. Truthfully though, I do think that those moments are fewer and far between in this movie, because Tony Stark deals with a lot of the emotional grief in this movie, which leads him to really, really push for the Avengers to sign this contract to shackle up. All in all though, with all of its moving pieces, all of its characters, this is a really big obstacle to take. Filmmaking obstacle, writing obstacle, acting, set pieces, action sequences, and this movie definitely succeeds. I'm really excited by the change and pace that the Russos have decided to take this entire series, with the emotions that these characters are dealing with and making everything feel very grounded and real. Doing all that without losing very, very familiar taste of this Marvel universe. I'm very interested in hoping to see that that taste slowly starts to morph as the Russos take on the even bigger task of the Infinity Wars movies that are coming up. But it's a big, smart, clever action movie with a cast of characters that seems to never end, battling each other, which makes for a very entertaining time. For my recommendation, I'm going to give it a soft yes. You're absolutely going to see it. I already know that you're going to see it. You probably have already seen it, and this is 8 years old by now to you. It's very fun to see all these characters deal with the things that they're dealing. They don't hold back. They really do go for the gut, without losing the sense of fun that the Marvel Universe has had intact this entire time. But still, it's very exciting to see them dip their toes into a bit darker, heftier, more thought-provoking and emotional waters. Alright guys, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you so much. You're all so beautiful and handsome and important. This, as always, is a Great Big Picture Show. I'm Spencer Howard Belden. Please like, share, and subscribe anything you see with this face. Please tell me what you thought of Captain America and anything else that you've been seeing lately, so I may embark on such adventures. Please have a good day, Please have a good night. And go hug someone, especially your enemy, who was most likely your friend before. But now you guys are mad at each other because you started this whole government war across a bunch of different nations, 117 to be exact. Yeah, go hug them. Just sweep it under the rug, man. Just hug them out. Hug it all up.